Good evening, folks. Welcome to our budget meeting. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki in the district of Spaganagity, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. East Hants further acknowledges the 50 African Nova Scotian communities whose 400-year history have contributed to the province's culture, history, and legacies. We are all treaty people. I'd like to remind councillors for everyone to sign in and also to register for the fire service meeting next week if you haven't done so already. Okay, I'll be looking for any amendments to the agenda. Seeing none, the agenda is passed. Next is the approval of the budget meeting minutes of February 10th, 2026. Looking for any changes to those. And seeing none, they are passed. First item before we get started, Councillor Mitchell, I'd like to bring something forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to my fellow council members and staff. I'd like to make a motion that we reach out to our friends in Spaganagity as they're going through this difficult time through the state of emergency. So I would like to make a motion that we send a letter of support to them, indicating that we're thinking about them and we're hoping that things turn out the best possible.
Motion made and seconded. On before the motion, Councillor Perry.
Yes, I'm just letting you know, Madam Chair, that Councillor Tingley can't log in. It says not present. He's trying to log in, but it says not present.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd leave the wording up to the warden and the CAO to draft
Pardon?
the letter.
Oh, yes, thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Do we have? We good? Councillor Tingley, are you good now? I'm good. Oh, great. Okay. Okay, so motion's on the floor. Seeing no one left to speak, we'll go to the vote. And the motion has passed unanimously.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, first item on the agenda is Sportsplex, operating budget and capital budget projects with Alana Tapper and Scott Preston. I'll just get you two. There you go.
Okay, perfect. Good evening, Council. So tonight I'll be presenting the East Hants Sportsplex operating and capital budget. Staff felt it made sense to do a dedicated presentation to the Sportsplex budget where there's points to talk about and give a chance to ask some questions. So just a quick overview, just wanted to let council know that, the general feedback of the facility, it's going really well. Users are very happy with the management, the cleanliness, and the experience right now. Utilization at the facility, so hours booked, is up approximately 20 to 25%. And we did that looking at our booking data from the year we took over in May of 2024 into this year. So we're seeing positive usage increase. That's largely due to ice being in for Ice Pad B in the summer, and as well as stretching our Keith Miller ice season in a little bit longer into May. So lots of positives there. There's also more utilization even throughout the year in the regular season. Our Roxy's Kitchen or cafe sales, which is the restaurant located on the second floor, is also doing well. The same 20 to 25% is translating into our revenue sales there. So we're seeing more people indoors. That's really nice. Public skates are busy. We're getting 50 to 100 people sometimes on those peak hours. And if you come by the Sportsplex, even through the daytime, you'll see that there's a lot of recreation programs that we started doing. So Pilates is happening in the evenings. There's stick and pucks for kids during non-peak hours, just to do some skill without having to rent the ice and just pay a drop-in fee. And we've brought in about $20,000 in revenue for this year, and there's more projected into next year. So All right, so this slide here, what I'll do is go over the operating budget. You'll see here, there's the projected numbers for this fiscal year in the budget, and then also the 26, 27 budget numbers presented there. So I'll highlight just a couple notes there. We'll start with the revenues. You see you have the area rate levy listed at the top. The operating revenue, that's the revenues that the Sportsplex takes in from bookings and the cafe sales and things like that. So the projection for this year is looking healthy at 1.7 million, and that's a little bit over budget. So that's a good sign. The revenues are projecting to be higher, and you're seeing a higher proposed budget for the revenue into the 26-27 year. Salaries, so there is, an increase salaries if you look at the 26-27, what's being proposed to budget of the 935, 930. 50,000 of that is actually, wages that are offset by revenue-related activities like, the sports shop that we discussed in a previous budget meeting, and also the program, so the wages for fitness instructors, things like that. That's part of that. There's also a $15,000 value there for the minimum wage impact to adjust with the rising minimum wage. Going through those items there, a couple other things to note. You may see operational costs are up. That's really your cost of goods sold. So with cafe sales up, your cost of goods sold to buy your food products and beverages, that's up as well. Again, we've proposed the sports shop in this business plan, so there's also some cost of goods sold related to the purchase of goods that we would sell at the sports shop. Some other things to note would be the building, plant, property. Again, that's mostly your power and your fuel. So, power bills have gone up. We've seen increases on our Nova Scotia power rates. Usage is also up in the facility, and after fixing a lot of mechanical systems, such as the dehumidification unit in the arena to maintain good humidity levels, there is power associated with that. So that's where you're seeing some of the rising costs on the building, plant, property section. And, that kind of summarizes the expenses. I guess what I wanted to point out is that, with the area rate and the operating revenue this year, that is putting us in a little bit of a surplus position there that you're seeing at the 138,966. So I thought maybe what we could do is pause here if there's any questions on the operating budget, and we could answer that before we flip over to capital.
I'm not seeing anyone. So, Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through to you to Scott and staff. Is there a projected timeline when the debt would be paid and the levy would come off, or is the levy an ongoing? Is it not gonna be ongoing? Okay, that answered my question, thank you.
Okay. CAO?
Through you, Madam Chair, I just wanted, the debt is long-term debt for this facility. So the first debt that we took out on it was for when it was constructed, and that would have a few years left. The addition, when the new part was constructed. And the current debt that we have would be from when you took over the facility. You borrowed money to pay off the mortgage that the East Hants Arena Association held. So that debt is long-term, and the area rate would be needed to cover that debt, plus any operating losses that the facility has. So for the foreseeable, you'll see Scott's gonna go through some of the capital work. For the foreseeable future, there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done using that money. And if you incur more debt, if you decide to do more of these projects quicker, then you'll have to incur some debt, probably shorter term than a 20-year loan. But if you decided that you wanted to get most of this done sort of PDQ, then you would probably go get some 5-year debt or 5 or 10-year debt to get them done.
What do you consider long-term?
I consider 15, 20 years long-term. So if you're gonna build a building, you're probably looking at a 20-year, 25-year amortization. but short-term debt for things that are smaller in nature and that you can afford the debt charges on. Of course, the shorter time, the better, because the less interest you'll pay, but the whole idea of a debenture is to get debt cheaper than, you certainly borrow money cheaper than you do from a bank through the provincial debenture program. So, but inevitably, if it's longer term debt, you're gonna pay more interest on it over time.
Do you have a dollar figure what the debt is?
We can get that for you before.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So we'll move into capital projects. So what you're seeing in front of you here on the screen is projects that are currently in motion. These have been approved by council. So we have our Sportsplex revitalization project. That started in May of 2024 with the transition of operations. And that included some of those necessary repairs when we came into the facility. Also includes a replacement Zamboni, which has been ordered and is expecting to arrive this spring. So there's $85,332 remaining to be used, which is expected to be used up for a building automation update that's required for the ice plant. The roof replacement project, the design is complete for that. So that project was funded by debt with $100,000 of a rink revitalization grant that we received from the province. So that design is complete. We're finalizing tender documents, and that work is expected to be completed this spring as well. The Roxy's Cafe project, so this project was more about we had an assessment done based on the NFP 96 standard, which is a fire kind of safety standard for commercial kitchens. There was some necessary ventilation work that was required, as well as some other upgrades to the kitchen. So that project design is almost complete as well, and that work will commence, the construction part will commence in the spring when the cafe is closed. So likely in that June period. The parking lot, that project is funded by Sportsplex Reserves. The project actually has been awarded, but due to the early winter and storm that hit us, we ended up moving that again into the spring. So a lot happening this spring at the Sportsplex, as you can see, but just some constraints with weather there had to push that. And then the security upgrades, that is again another project funded by reserves. The design is complete, so we had to do a schematic for all that kind of security capital that was going to be put in. That design is complete. There is some more funds required to complete that construction, which we'd be hoping to do in the summer of 2026. Yeah. Okay. So this page here is the 2026-27 draft capital budget. So these are the new projects that we wanted to discuss this evening. Lighting replacement. Essentially the dome and both arenas. So there's we have a full-size soccer pitch dome and two regulation size arenas. Those are still on old light systems. So the dome itself operates on incandescent bulbs. The bulbs are very expensive to operate. They're 1,000-watt bulbs. They can't dim, so if you go in the facility, you try to turn off lights, it is darker. And actually, because the dome had previously collapsed at one point previous to our ownership, it's darker. There's staining on the dome, so you don't get that reflective light. So this project is to propose LED lights in the building. So for both arenas and the dome, and what LEDs have is they have that ability to give a much brighter light at a more efficient rate. And they also have different capabilities for dimming and also different color spectrums as well, depending on what you want to do. There is rebates, of course, when you purchase these LED lights, and there's also cost savings, and we're estimating about $15,000 to $20,000 for savings on the power bill by switching to these LED fixtures. Score clock replacement is the next one here, and there's also a further study for LED screens as part of that replacement. The score clock itself, that project is, we have 35,000 to be funded by Sportsplex reserves. That is the score clock in the Keith Miller Arena. That's the original score clock when the building was built in the 90s. So it's well past its life cycle. It's uses incandescent bulbs, which are expensive actually to replace, and they burn out very frequently. So staff have to, go up to a very high height to replace those bulbs. We wanted to put a note there as we have a further study that councillors may want to combine this with a full LED kind of screen system. This is the way some community rinks have gone, which is, we'll talk about in the next page, but that's all connected to your scoreboard, providing some live streaming or replay, things like that, and also ability for sponsorship. The last one here on this slide is street sign replacement. So if you drive down Highway 2 towards the Sportsplex, you'll see the Sportsplex sign. And at the top of that, there's a screen that is black right now. And it's black because it's malfunctioned. It's old. It's reached the end of its life cycle. And in speaking with the contractor that supplies that screen, it wouldn't be supported even if it was fixed with the new Windows software. So it needs to be fully replaced.
Okay, just let Councillor Mitchell weigh in. Go ahead, Councillor Mitchell.
The staining in the dome, would it be possible to reduce the staining when you're replacing the lights in the dome?
Through you, Madam Warden, Councillor Mitchell, we have discussed with the contractor Farley Group about cleaning the dome, and they basically told us that that wouldn't be possible. It's really high up, and you would have to probably lay it over a field and try, and they basically said you really couldn't clean it, so the staining is pretty permanent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't paint over it or anything?
No.
Okay. Okay, just my thoughts as
Yeah.
Next is the warden.
Thank you. Going back to the lights, and it's gonna be 500,000 funded from debt, and there will be interest on that debt. And looking at the savings per year, we're looking at a break-even time of between 25 and 30 years. And I don't think that dome is still going to be there in 25 or 30 years. That will be far past its useful life, if I've done the math correctly, and I'm greatly supportive of, saving money and electricity and all that, but I just can't help but wonder how cost-effective it is when we're gonna spend $500,000 to put in new lights. And I don't know what part of that relates to the dome in particular, but when I look at a 25 or 30-year payback, it doesn't make sense to me for the dome. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
have I done the math wrong?
No, through you, Madam Warden. So great point, great question. So the 500,000, that's over the two ice arenas and the dome. So the dome represents about a third of that cost, but there's also controls work in there as well. The thing about the dome is that we don't know at this point if the replacement for the dome could be a new dome. So that could also be part of the discussions of future years. So these light fixtures, if you replace them, they may not necessarily be not to use at all if the dome, because council may decide to replace the dome with a new structure down the road, and that would be identified in the rec facility master plan as options for council to consider. So that could still be a possibility. What I want to point out about the dome, it's not just energy savings, but the light levels in there are very dark. So if you go through there in the daytime, even with the full capacity of the bulbs that we have, there is a bit of a safety issue. And for different sports, there's all sorts of different sports played there, soft pitch, things like that, where we have balls moving at a high speed. We actually, there's been reported injuries of people getting hit because they can't see things. So there is a bit of a safety thing as well, is why we're recommending just better light levels. But I can appreciate your question there on costs. Yeah.
It just, it just kind of springs to my mind that, and I know that none of us can look in the future and see how long that dome's gonna last, but it's not going to be 25 or 30 years, I don't think. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Next to speak is Counselor Tingley.
Through the chair, Scott started to answer the question there, but as a user of the Sportsplex, the dome, the lighting in there is terrible. And the other arenas, some of the lighting used to be bad there as well. And they upgraded it a few years ago, and it was like, holy gosh, now you can actually see what's going on. But if you've got players playing high level hockey, like the senior league and AAA and that sort of thing, they have to have decent lighting. And I would say you're absolutely right. It would be, I'd be concerned not having adequate lighting. It's not just the cost. And I'm sure if the warden went into the dome, she would be able to see it herself, like the lighting is not great. That's the only comments I have.
Thank you, Counselor. Next to speak is Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Scott, there's mentions about like revenue from sponsorship.
Yeah.
Have we looked at like a sponsor? Because you go to a lot of arenas and the scoreboards are provided by a sponsor, BMO, Scotiabank, you know, the whatever group, Deloitte, and then the naming rights to the facility.
Yeah.
Are we looking to expand and put these out there to create a revenue stream beyond council and the taxpayer which makes a lot of these things become more accessible, dependent upon the years that it is required?
Through you, Madam Chair. So, yes, so currently, I'll let you know, we do sponsorship in the facility, but it's at a micro scale of signage. And so there is, at the end of this presentation, just a bullet that we wanted to speak about, that we are having those internal discussions about whether that could be naming rights for the facility or bigger title sponsors. That's something that we would bring back to council, you know, whether that's this next coming year or the year after, but it is a priority for us that we're looking at. Other major arenas, premier arenas, facilities like ours do that, and it is shown to be successful. You hear different stories, but I think it could be an opportunity that we'll explore, yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things I'm looking at, and I use like the new West Hants facility for an example, right? Their scoreboard is a sponsored scoreboard. Their arena and all of the other elements in there. So like you have two arenas that could get naming rights. You could get the dome could be named by another company in the overall building. And so you're looking at the potential for a bunch of major sponsors all to get a piece of the pie. And sometimes if it's a big enough sponsor, they want the whole thing and they'll pay for it too. So that's kind of what I'm looking at is we're growing. You know, we should be looking to get the big fish in early.
Yeah.
It's easier to get them in early and then say your sponsorship goes up as time goes on than try to fix everything before and then have them come in, because that's the way to get them in the door. Like your money will help do this. Your name will go on the new scoreboard and it's there. So I think it's something that needs to be explored a little bit more, and I think that's going to be the way of the future for a lot of recreational things going forward, is because it's not sustainable just to do it on the taxpayer forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, you can continue.
Okay. Thank you. So there's a few projects here that are further study that we just wanted to highlight. The next one is flooring replacement in the facility. So if you walk through the facility, there's rubberized floor, which, you know, that allows users with skates on to walk through, and that goes through several hallways in the facility as well as the changing rooms. It's very worn. It is at the point where it does need to be replaced. There's other areas of the facility as well that could use replacement. For example, the tile, the showers in the change rooms, it's tile, and you know, just the way those are done, that could probably be replaced, for example, with an epoxy flooring. So we just wanted to highlight that to council for future study. I'll go over the LED screens, and this speaks to Councillor Perry's point about sponsorship and kind of an approach that we wanted to council to consider with the score clock and experience as well, is that, you know, facilities do provide this now. They have a video screen. We're seeing that streaming in hockey is becoming very popular with, you know, minor sport as well as senior levels as well. So there's different opportunities if we had this screen, not alone just to ice events. It could allow us to host conferences in the Keith Miller Arena. There's actually other arenas that have done video gaming events. It's just different revenue generating opportunities, movie skate nights, things like that. But sponsorship alone could be a priority for a large screen. And, you know, we've done some calculations that we could probably pay off the cost of that within a 5-7 year period of selling regular ads off a large screen in the Keith Miller Arena. So just want to highlight that for you folks. The next one here is the Keith Miller penalty box / scorekeeper improvements. So in our Keith Miller Arena, you know, we have 2 penalty boxes as you do on ice surface. They both need to be expanded. And you know, there's the timekeeper area in there as well, just to give more room and glass panels for the penalty box for safety, because they're currently not glassed in. So we just wanted to highlight those improvements that we've identified from our users and from operators in the facility that we see as important. Okay, and next, you know, just for council's, you know, understanding here is this is the Sportsplex area rate. And the map is shown here. The area rate is, you know, set at 4 cents per $100 of assessment for the 26-27 year. That projected levy amount is $790,218 for 26-27. You know, and for council to understand that 1 cent would raise that levy $198,000. And these are the debt projections based on the capital projects that we discussed. So the roof replacement, again, we had the 100,000 from the province on that, so that's 1.4 million. That's previously approved. We have the light replacement at 500,000, and those future studies listed there. So the total debt, if with those projects there, would be listed at the 2.660 million there.
Okay. Counselor Dixon. Oh, sorry, Deputy Warden Dixon.
Okay, it's all right. Through the chair, just 2 quick comments here. Going back to Roxy's Cafe, I know it's being redesigned. Will that be, I know with staff working there,
Yep.
you place an order, they're gonna go around the corner to make it. Will that be a little more efficient for service there and maybe speed things up?
Through you, Madam Chair. So just to clarify, the Roxy's Kitchen, the project isn't a redesign of the whole kitchen. It was mostly,
Ventilation.
it was really looking at the ventilation there because the exhaust wasn't enough. That's the priority. If we, you know, depending on how we do with that, there is some necessary improvements too with the stove and things, but we won't be changing the layout of that cafe. Yeah.
Might be something for the future. I know when you're
Yeah.
short staff and they
Yeah.
gotta hike back and forth, it does slow down.
Yeah.
The other thing, the penalty box, not that I know where it is, I do support the idea of having the glass across there, cause it is,
Yeah.
like, you have 4 posts there
Yeah.
that people can have when they're skating by, and
Yeah.
that would be a good, as like, like Hunter Tingley mentioned earlier, a good safety feature, so
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you. So we do have penalty box.
Thank you. Next to speak is the CAO.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to, Jordan has provided some debt numbers where he doesn't have a microphone. I'll share them with you for Councillor Mitchell. So currently, the outstanding debt is about 2.3 million on the facility. And that means about $289,000 a year in principal payments and 70,000 in interest. So your total debt charges there are about $360,000 a year on that 2.3 million. And then the debt that you're seeing on the screen, you've already approved 1.4 million of it. 500,000 is in the budget this year to be approved for the lighting. And then you've got those further study projects that we're asking for you to weigh in on now to see if there are things that you want to do in the facility. You know, things like the score clock. If you're gonna do the score clock and you feel like having that LED screen is a good addition to the facility, because it does open quite a few doors and it certainly improves the user experience a great deal, then, you know, instead of doing a $35,000 score clock, you know, do the whole thing and get it done. that just makes sense if you're gonna come back in 2 years and say, hey, we'd like a LED screen now. So that's sort of what we wanted to get in front of you tonight. To have those conversations, to say, what do you want this facility to look like and how do you want it to feel? So we've got some more slides that Scott's gonna go through around reserves and whatnot, but we'll get there. Thanks.
I just have a question, if the warden would mind taking the chair. So the glass panels that you're talking about that are of some question of safety currently, and that's one of our future projects. That's a fairly low ticket item. If it's an issue of safety, do we not feel that that should be bumped forward to something that happens immediately? I feel that way. I'd like the other councillors to weigh in if they have any thoughts on it. Thank you, Warden. You can take that.
Anyone have any comments or staff, Councillor Tingley?
Through the chair, I think it is a higher priority because you could have somebody sitting in the penalty box, they're not necessarily watching the game all the time. If a puck comes over and hits them and there's no glass there, you're gonna end up in a dispute. That's the easiest way to say it. So I would say, as far as other items that you have there, if it's an economical thing to do, if it's a less expensive thing to do, you know, the flooring in some cases, if there's pieces of flooring sticking up, you know, the pieces should be repaired, but I would put the glass in the penalty box as a priority item.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mitchell?
Just a question following up on Councillor Garden Cole. Is that doable in the near future for the glass, Penderbuff glass, or is that a time frame issue?
Through you, Madam Chair. So I guess just to clarify on the question here, because, you know, the project as we have for the KMA improvements was not just the glass, it was to also expand the penalty box. So
Right.
I'm not sure if the question is to not make it future study, but put it into this year's capital as the whole project, then that would be up for council to decide. You know, we have it proposed right now as future study, but if we wanted to make that as a approval sought, then that would be probably the path forward.
Okay, so I guess I still have the,
Well, if it's a safety issue, I think it should be moved forward. I'd hate to see somebody get injured and come back on the facility since it's being discussed, that's all.
I think
Thank
then
you.
we would be looking for a motion to move that from approved for further study into an approved capital project for this year.
I'll
Someone's-
make that motion.
Right,
I'll second it.
seconded. Councillor Garden Cole?
so are you saying that the replacement of the glass was actually tied in to the revamping of the penalty
Yes.
boxes? Okay, so, and my concern was that there's glass that should be there and isn't.
There's, through you, Madam Chair, there isn't glass designed to be there right now as it is.
Gotcha.
So if that makes sense, the penalty boxes don't have glass. So we've incorporated that as part of,
Of a revised
Yes.
penalty box plan. So it's either go with the whole thing or leave it as is.
yeah, that would be cost effective to do it that way, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor. Councillor Rhino?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm struggling with this one because, you know, how long has that arena been there? And now all of a sudden it's a safety issue? So I just can't get over that one. Why is this a safety issue now and we've never talked about it before, or it's never been talked about before, to my knowledge?
Councillor Tingley?
Through the chair, I can understand where Councillor Rhino's coming from, but there are other, staff, I guess, could do a check. I know there's other arenas that do have glass above the boards in the penalty box, and like another councillor said, now that we've discussed it, we know it's a risk. And Councillor Dixon, I think, or Deputy Warden Dixon brought it up, it could be a safety issue. I think it would be a safety issue. And I, as somebody that played hockey myself, I could see a hockey player sitting in there not paying full attention, and if there's a junior hockey team or a senior team and they're shooting the puck hard against the boards, nothing might happen. It's like everything else. Things go along, people don't slip and fall, trip and fall every day over hazards, but all you need is one, and the cost of doing the work to prevent it would have, easily paid for it. So that's my comment.
CAO.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So Councilor Rhino is right. That's why it's in here for approval sought, and that's the conversation we want to have with council. So there are a ton of older rinks that have no glass around your penalty boxes. That's just the way they were designed back in the day. But you wouldn't find a new one without glass around your penalty box. So that's the question. Do you want to modernize your rink so it's safer, or not? That is the question for council. So when these things come to me and I have to decide, okay, do I put it in for approval? Do I put it in for approval sought or for further study? Some things I just don't know the answers as to how you feel about this building yet. And that's part of the reason we wanted to dedicate a budget meeting to it. Because as a user of a hockey facility, I think an LED screen and a score clock would be amazing at the Sportsplex. It would open up so many doors. As a user of the facility, it would be amazing. But I don't know if you want that as counselors in your facility. The penalty box revamp, it's not just glass. It's changing the penalty boxes, it's putting glass up, it's changing it so you have access to the timekeeper from the penalty box. Like, a lot of stuff happens in those penalty boxes, and it's not always good. So having access, right now you don't have access to those penalty boxes other than through the ice, I believe. So those are all the things that you need to decide how you want this rink to operate and what you want it to look like. It really truly is up to you. We're putting the things that we think should be on the table. But I don't have enough of a sense from you folks as to how you want this building to look and feel and operate, and what you want us to be able to bring into the facility as far as what level hockey you want us to bring in. Like Scott said, different conferences in the summertime with an LED display panel. All of those things are questions that we just have to bring to you because I don't know the answers to them.
Councillor Merriam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is a great topic. When we're going over some of this stuff, I'm thinking about a long time ago, I can remember going into rinks and there was no netting at all. No one had netting. And, what used to be the Metro Center, I think I can remember a time there was no netting, and now you see netting everywhere, and you don't even think twice about it. So I just think when you're dealing with facilities, things change over time, bias towards safety. And I think there is, to the CAO's point, in looking at the bullets here, it is more than the glass. I mean, it's a redesign. When I think about what a real focal point in the corridor and beyond that facility is, I think many people who have had kids go through the Sportsplex would say it's a really vital part, like a meeting place, a gathering place. It's a huge part of the community. And so I know it might seem micro just focusing on the penalty scorekeeper area, but, it's exciting the facility's improving. And, having glass is part of it, but the power, audio feeds, it just seems like the whole thing's going to be improving. I guess a question, though, is with timing, given the scope of all of the other projects, if council said, yeah, we're gung-ho, let's get going on the glass and the whole revamp, How does that fit in with all of the other also important projects like the roof and so on for timing?
Through you, Madam Chair, we would coordinate that before the Keith Miller ice season, so we would do that definitely over the summer season, and it wouldn't be as big of a task as some of those bigger projects we have, like the Roxy's and the rooftop, so we could prioritize that right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it for me. Thanks.
Counselor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The Sportsplex is not in my area. I don't really have a dog in the fight, but I do have experience playing hockey and watching hockey, and a lot of hockey players in my area as well. And to me, the biggest safety is not a puck going through the penalty box. It's a gap in the glass. When you have checking leagues in high school age kids, junior players, and now a senior team here, going full speed down there, and there's a gap in the glass by the penalty box, and somebody takes a hit, it's their head that's hitting that partition and taking them out. People might remember years ago, Max Pacioretty got hit from behind in a game against Boston against Zdeno Chara, almost broke his neck, almost killed him. The NHL then reacted by putting curved glass along those points because they realized that those stanchions and those gaps were huge risk for player injury. And as long as our high school kids from this area are playing there, junior players from probably 16 to 20 are playing there, as well as the senior hockey team, I do think kids are getting bigger, stronger, and faster, that it is a real risk for a significant injury, because when players are playing, they're not looking at what they're doing. They're just going full out, and they're all there trying to win. And I do know that some of these injuries have happened at some of these older rinks, and it's caused, a lot of problems. And I don't want to be on the news story. I don't want to hear about any young person being injured and their life being altered over $60,000 for the municipality and this facility. That would be my point when it comes to safety, that you can't put a price on somebody's ability to walk. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Counselor Tingley, followed by Counselor Rhino. And just a reminder to folks, the motion on the floor is to move it is about the penalty and scorekeeper improvements, cost $60,000, to move that to approved as opposed to approved, future study. Yes, to approval side as opposed to future study. Counselor Tingley.
Through the chair. So are we just talking about the glass or revamping the whole?
It has to be all done at once.
Okay, because that's it.
Counselor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Well, I've heard the discussion, I've heard what Councillor Perry said, and if Councillor Perry, I'll take him at his word, but this was not presented as a safety issue. When this was presented, this is, you can choose to do it or not to do it. So I'm confused. Staff are not bringing it full through as a safety issue. But other councillors.
I would correct you, they are. It definitely says here,
Well,
it would include adding glass panels to each box for
But
safety.
but it's under, for study, and we can move it through. But to me, I'm not getting that, oh, it's a safety issue, we must do this, or we should do this, or I'm getting this, oh, well, we just want to see what you gauge your, and I'm hearing from different people, it is a safety issue, so I'm confused.
CAO.
So it has been identified as a safety issue, but council, you're the ones who manage the risk for the municipality. So if it wasn't a safety issue, it wouldn't be on the list. And we wouldn't be having the conversation. If it was just another project, it would just be in the capital budget. We would mention it, say it's approved for further study, and we would go on. But you're the ones who have to understand the risk of doing or not doing something. If it was a $20,000 project, it would have been in the budget. It's a $60,000 project, so it's being brought to your attention for further study. That's all like that, that's how this works. I don't know.
I'm just not getting the passion of that, like I do for Councillor Perry. Councillor Perry seems to get passionate in that, so.
Well, Through you, Ms. Warden, as a hockey mom, when I hear Councillor Perry talking about kids getting nailed into the boards and folding halfway over, that makes me cringe. It scares the heck out of me every time it happens to my own kids, and it is a safety issue. Pucks to the head, that when someone rims the puck around the boards and it pops up into the penalty box, that's a safety issue. It's also $60,000, so that's why it's here for your consideration, because ultimately you're the risk managers for this municipality. We bring these things to your attention and we just need you to make a decision on them one way or the other. You can take the risk and not do the project, or you can spend the $60,000 and do the project. And remove the risk.
Okay, Councillor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. Yes, I'd just like to say that I support the expenditure of the $60,000 for the revitalization of the penalty box. I was thinking of Max Pacioretty. I watched that so many times of him getting hit. I also was thinking of Kirby Doc, who's ridden the boards in twice. Now that was at the benches where there wasn't, but I mean, it was two almost career-ending injuries for him. So if you're a fellow that goes out and works as a carpenter every day, that wouldn't be a very good thing. But maybe I'll put it this way for Councillor Rhino. He'll see it maybe this way. It's better to put that piece of guardrail up before the car goes over the cliff than after it goes over the cliff. And that's what we're trying to do here. Thanks.
All right, I have no one else left to speak. The motion is to move the Keith Miller Penalty Scorekeeper Improvements Project at a cost of $60,000 into the approval sought category. You ready for the vote? We'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. And I'm going to pass the chair back to the chairperson now. I just do have one question. How does that affect the dollars and the funding and the?
Thank you through the chair. I'd confirm with finance, but we had that funded from debt, so I'm not sure if we have, and I'll look to Jordan. So we do actually have enough in reserve to cover that $60,000. So if that's going to be moved to approval sought, we would update the template so it would actually show approval sought and funded from special reserve, which would be the Sportsplex reserves.
Okay, you can
Okay,
continue.
Continue on, okay. Thank you. So this page is actually on the Sportsplex reserves, so just wanted to go over that these reserves are used for operating and capital projects, and with the approved and proposed projects, the reserve will be to where it is here. So what you're seeing on the screen is that opening balance at the top of the start of this year, fiscal year of April 1st, 2025, and with the capital projects there and what the end balance is projected to be at March 31st, 2026. And then if you go down to the bottom, this would be how we would fund those capital projects there with the reserves, and that would bring your ending balance down to the 230,646. And then as the motion was just passed by council, so that's 60,000, we would add into that, so you'd reduce that further, so you'd be looking at around 170,646. Okay, and then this is just, the CAO spoke to some of these points earlier, and we just wanted to highlight that the rec facility master plan will provide council with recommendations on the future of facilities in East Hants, and that will be coming this year. It's important to consider, where we're going in the direction for this facility, so balancing that user experience. This facility is recognized by many across the province as a premier facility, hosting major events. So balancing that with the necessary equipment replacement as staff, we will continue to provide council with information of life cycle equipment as it ages, and as these risks come up, we'll outline those to you. And we will also be looking at sponsorship opportunities for this facility. That conversation has been discussed internally, and that may be brought back to council for future discussion. That's it.
Okay. Not seeing anyone to speak. Oh, CAO?
So counselors, for me, there's really one question is around the LED score clock, because the actual score clock needs to be replaced. So I guess I would look for some council direction. We do have it in for further study, but is that something that you want in further study? Do you want us to replace the score clock and then later come back and sort of do something separate from the score clock on an LED screen if that's the wish? Or do you want us to try and get some information on, well, we have the information on doing that project all at the same time? I guess I would speak to the other first future study, the flooring replacement. I think that we really do need to study a little bit more. That's sort of just it's coming. At some point, you're gonna have to replace the flooring in that facility. We've done quite a bit of it as part of the revitalization work, but this is like all the rubber, the skate flooring. But where we're doing the clock, if the budget is approved, I would really like you to think a little bit about whether we put that LED screen in at the same time to maximize the use of the facility at this point instead of waiting. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So by doing it now, will be any savings, like combined with other stuff, or will be totally separate from other?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Musa, doing this all at one, you would do that one purchase through the contractor that supplies the scoreboard. So there would be some savings to the screen component and things like that, and probably the labor associated with the install as well.
If it need to be done and there's some saving, we might as well go for the savings now instead of doing it as a separate project and bringing out a lot of labor involved in it. So that's my point. I don't know about the others. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next to speak is Warden Rolston.
Thank you. So the cost that's in the budget to replace the score clock is $35,000. Is it an additional $200,000 to add the LED screen, or is that? So if we were just to replace the score clock at this time, it could be replaced with a score clock that could have the LED screen added at a later date?
Yes.
So I'm not sure. I'm a little bit uncomfortable because I don't live in the Sportsplex area. And I don't know, to add another $200,000 worth of debt. I guess maybe it doesn't change the rate. Maybe it just stretches it out longer or something. But I could be, I'd like to know what the councilors who represent those folks who are actually paying this area rate think about it.
Through you, Madam Chair, I guess I just wanted to comment to that is that the budget amount that we have there, so we could explore, if it was all for approval sought, staff could explore, there is different options for screens and scoreboards. So for instance, one example could be we do a scoreboard that has a separate screen, but there also could be an option for staff to do a scoreboard with the screen attached, or a scoreboard that is just a screen. That's also trending as well. So this would give us the option to be more flexible in deciding that option, and with the cost savings, I said earlier, with the install and everything. So that it could be done separately, but it could be done as one. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor McPhee?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to staff. I was wondering if we go ahead with the screen now, have you received inquiries from people that would give us more business at the arena by having that screen in? Have there been inquiries to, for future, that would certainly help compensate for the cost? And also, if you could just find out, need a comparison of how much it is just to put the score clock in or the different configurations with the screen, see what kind of savings we might be making. But anyway,
Okay, through you, Madam Chair, to answer those questions. So first of all, I've spoken to many of the major users at the facility, even when we're hosting tournaments as well, presidents of the league, of how that would change the experience, having a screen for different games of play. So that would be. I've also spoken to some of the folks that do the streaming for sports, like High Button Sports is pretty popular. They would plug in their stream right into that screen. So there's a lot of users who would be excited about a screen at the Keith Miller Arena. And to your second question, just to clarify, you're asking what the difference in cost was of doing a scoreboard or a screen? Is that?
or the screen, or would we have to, or could we get maybe save some because we're getting a scoreboard that incorporates a screen rather than put a screen in separately afterwards, or just what's the?
So yeah, through you, Madam Chair, the way we've presented it, just to be clear, so its approval sought was I believe it was the 35,000. So that would be to just do the screen, and then we have the score clock, and then the 200,000 is the additional do the screen. So the different that would be for a separate screen, that 200,000. But like I said, there is options that if that was all as one budget item, we could explore potentially a screen that is a scoreboard. That does exist. We've spoken to Daktronics, who's the supplier of these types of things, that they do that. There's a couple other suppliers as well. So it is a very new age of technology with LED screens. There's a lot of options that we could consider. Yeah.
So we could get one that incorporates both and be under the 235 or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Next to speak is Counselor Merriam.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to staff. So Councillor Perry mentioned earlier, if I remember correctly, about West Hants Arena and the screen there or score clock being sponsored. And, it is kind of a big ticket item if we were to look at expediting, I guess, the LED screen sooner and factoring that in. And I guess my question is it possible that, and perhaps, well, I'll ask this, have you already done some market analysis with other facilities, say in Atlantic Canada, on, here's an example where a private sector sponsorship has happened and for a similar screen, and, have a sense of what they'd be willing to pay? Do we have any information like that?
Through you, Madam Chair. So, we've spoken to our supplier that supplies these and has talked about the benefits of sponsorship and what your payback would be over years. We haven't discussed specifically with other arena operators on how they've done it, but we could certainly do that through the process to understand. There's many variations going with a title sponsor on a screen or rotating ads, things like that. We see value in many different options that we could do, especially with the different tournaments. You could have different sponsors for certain time frames because there's many sponsors that come and sponsor a whole tournament, right? And so we could have those opportunities to do it a case-by-case basis, but we could certainly bring that information back.
Yeah, no, I'm speaking for myself. I think it would be easier to kind of have a more fulsome decision if you had more information. And could you almost see putting in front of us during budget period, if we were to evaluate proceeding more quickly with the LED screen, to have a sense of what projected revenue could look like as an offset to the expense from a sponsorship source, and that way, you get more of a financial feel of what the impact would be.
Through you, Madam Chair, I guess what we've already have said is that we felt we could pay that back over a 5-year period with sponsorship. So
Okay.
that 200,000. So that's what, our analysis through our supplier, that we came to.
Yes.
But if, council wanted more information to be presented back, we could certainly dive deeper than that. But that's the payback period that we were highlighting. Yeah.
Yes, well, maybe it would be interesting if other counselors want to weigh in, because I got the sense that we hadn't quite had the conversation yet completely about sponsorships, and it's almost jumping the gun a little bit. I mean, it's a great discussion, but I just think, maybe it would help get your head around how is that being paid for, because right now it's not, it's sort of intangible, the whole sponsorship issue, where I'll leave it at that, but if others may wish to weigh in. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Hep.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We need the clock for sure. And down the road, we will get a screen, and I think now is the best time to put them together and do it all at once. You got the same company doing it, and it'll all be put in place, and it would be a better enhancement for the spectators are there and for the sponsors that's gonna use it. So I think it's a win-win all around. Thank you.
Sorry, Eleanor, I gotta speak. Okay. I just want to add to that as well. I think from what I've seen of these in different areas of the province, it is rotating sponsors typically that I'm seeing. And I think there is a lot of potential for that. And that would definitely have a lot to do with my decision were it be to go forward. And my second point is that my daughters at the other end of the province, I have been able to watch them stream their games streamed. My granddaughters, sorry, their games streamed, and it is amazing. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's people far away like I am watching them down in Yarmouth or Liverpool. It could be residents within our communities watching their grandkids stream if they aren't able to get to the games. It is a really cool option. So just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
No motion on the floor. I'm gonna turn the chair
Okay.
back to you now.
Thank you. Counselor Tingley.
Through the chair to staff, did you say that the manufacturer said, or whoever's selling this clock, that you can recover the cost in 5 years through sponsorship? Or that's what they believe is?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. So through our discussion with the supplier, that would be a typical payback period with sponsorship sales. Yeah.
Okay, well, based on that information and, hearing that this is being done at other arenas all around the province, I'll make the motion that we include this in the budget for this year as well.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Counselor Rhino, you're on before the motion.
Well, I guess for me, I'd like to see some examples. Just, if you're gonna bring stuff here and you want this and you want that, at least, to me, I'm a visual person. I'd like to see examples of these signs that are you say that are flipping through sponsorships and so on and stuff. For me, that's what I would like to see. Like, just one thing to say it, and then it's another thing to see it, for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Musa. Oh,
Thank you,
ahead.
Madam Chair. Speaking in support of the motion, I think we're a bedroom community to Halifax, and if a tournament is coming this way and they have chance to take it to Windsor and they have more options for screening, they're gonna go there. And I don't think we should be risking. If we want to be at the top, we should be at the top. Or if we want to be bottom line, we stay up on the bottom line. So I think it's very important to move up and stay up. Thank you.
okay, so we've got a motion on the floor. Seeing no one left to speak, we'll go to the vote. And the motion has passed with a vote of 10-1, with Counselor Rhino voting nay. Where am I going here? Okay. That's everything? Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is Fire Department's levy increase requests with Wade. Excuse me. You're good.
We're having a few technical difficulties for those at home. Hopefully be resolved shortly.
I'll have to get you to kind of move it around, because it's, sure, just go to the top for now. Yeah, maybe blow it up for people like me. Thanks. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So, tonight we're gonna talk about the, request for fire levy increases for, by three of the fire departments, Milford, Lance, and Enfield. And this report is providing some additional information. Oh, thank you. Some additional information in relation to the impact of those requests on the tax burden, for residents and businesses. You'll note, this report is really pretty much all numbers. There's no real, recommendation being made here, so I presume there's gonna be some discussion on this after I go through the numbers. The first set of numbers that I have here are reflecting the impact on the fire department revenues themselves by this possible 2-cent increase. And I'll go, thank you. The first table that you see on the top there is the fire department levy amounts for 26-27 using the current 25-26 rates that we presented in the first draft of the operating budget. In other words, no change from what we've been talking about all along here. So as you can see, the numbers show the difference in the 25-26 and 26-27 dollars. Infield is over 87,000, and that's a percentage increase of 9.7% over the revenues from the previous year. Lance has an increase of $122,000, which an increase over the previous year is about 23.8%. And Milford is just over $19,000, which is an increase of 9.4% over the previous year, which is actually this year. So that's kind of status quo, if you will. That second set of numbers in the middle there is reflecting what would happen if the 2-cent increases were to go forward? So as you can see, if we go forward, then those numbers change. Enfield's numbers now go up to, the increase goes up to $227,000, which is a 25% increase over this current year. Lance goes up an additional $201,000, which is a 39% increase over this year. And Milford goes up $46,000, which is just 22% over this year. And so when you compare the two, what are the actual dollar differences that these fire departments are getting, would get in 26-27 because of this 2 cents? And that's what the bottom number reflects. Enfield would be an additional 140,000, Lance would be 79,000, and Milford would be 26,000. So those are the dollar impacts for the fire departments. But next, we go to the next schedule, and if you try to blow that up a little bit better, as much as you can to get that impact in there, that'd be great, thank you. So this schedule talks about the impact of these levies on residents. And as you've seen these types of schedules before, the left-hand side, the district shows the specific area that we're talking about. The second set, the adjusted average residential assessment from 25 to 26, assuming these are capped properties at the 2.6 percent cap level, what the assessment increase is. Then those 3 columns in the middle, which are green, are talking about, what are we talking about right now? The status quo, and it talks about what does this current operating budget reflect for these areas and each of those lines from an assessment value perspective of total dollars that it's going to impact them in that current year as we are right now without the 2%, and what that percentage is. And as you can see, as an example, the very top line for a Milford service property between was 200 going up 200,000 in assessment. Total current dollars in taxes is $303,052. It's an increase over the year of 1.72%, and dollars of $51.50. However, if we go ahead with this 2 cents levy for that particular level of assessment in that area, now we're talking about those numbers in the purple area. And as you can see, the total increase with the 2 cents in dollar terms is $92.54, which is a 3.8% increase over the previous year. And you can see that what the difference is in the far right-hand columns, dollar increase and percentage increase. The difference between where we're at right now in our current draft budget and if we change it to include this 2 cent increase for that fire levy increase. So for that individual, that would be an additional $41.04 onto their tax burden for the year. And it would be about an additional increase beyond what we're talking about right now of 1.37%. And those, each of those lines is exactly the same scenario. In the very bottom line, you can see Lance serviced for that type of resident. That dollar increase at $500 to $513 level, their total dollars increase in 26-27, if this moves ahead, would be about $102.60, which would be another 1.73% above where we're at right now, which in that case was 1.47%, for a total of 3.21%. So that kind of gives you an overview of, if you move forward, what is the general impact on the individual resident? Now, this doesn't speak, however, to businesses. Businesses are different beasts because they pay different tax rates, and it's not going to have the same impact from them from a percentage perspective it's gonna have a lower impact for them on a percentage perspective because we're starting with a higher dollar tax rate that they pay. So when you add up an individual tax rate, whatever area you're talking about, you're in the $3 area. And by adding an additional 2 cents, you're a much lower percentage. And we've run some numbers, and for businesses, almost all the time, the percentage factor that their increase is about 0.5% compared to where we're at right now, to 0.6% or 0.6%. But the dollar impact is the exact same methodology as you see with the individual residents. If you have $100,000 assessment, a 2-cent increase is going to cost you an additional $20. So if it's $1 million property, assessed property, the additional 2 cents is going to cost you $200 more a year. And if it's a $2 million assessed property, whether it's business or residence, that will cost you $400 more a year. So the dollars math works exactly the same from a residence to a business, but the percentage factor is much smaller for commercial businesses because they're starting with a much higher tax rate than the individual residents are. Now, if we could go to the next page. So we do a lot of the books for a lot of the fire departments here. And so we decided to go have a look at their books for the year ending March 31st, 2025, because they actually have to file annually their financial statements with us. So these are technically public documents. And in the CCOL, I've actually copied all the financial statements for these 3 fire departments if you wanted to look at them further. But there was some summary information here that we provided that we thought you might be of interest to you. You can see here, for all 3 departments, we've listed their assets, their liabilities, and what their accumulated surplus was at March 31st, 2025. And also for that year, we've listed their revenue and their expenses and their annual surplus for that year as well. You know, in my review of all those financial statements, they're all what I would say are healthy financial statements as at that point in time. But healthy financial statements as at that point in time really means nothing from the perspective of what financial challenges they have in the future, or you know, what state are their assets in that they may have to replace in the very near future. But you know, just from looking at it as at a point in time, you know, and again, each one is unique. Each one is a different size, has a different mandate, but that would be my summary. The only other thing I think I wanted to mention about this is going through the requests that they have provided as to the rationale looking for this additional money. And from my review of what I saw in the documentation, I noted that Enfield noted in theirs that it was really twofold, that they were primarily talking about significant operational costs ongoing and increasing, and the desire to replace capital equipment in the near future. I can't provide any more detailed information than that at this point in time. Milford specifically indicated that they need to replace a 1996 fire engine, and they need more cash to do that. Lance, now on Lance, in the letter that they requested the 2 cent increase, I didn't see a lot of depth in the rationale, but we did have access to their minutes for a meeting in February. And those minutes indicated that their plan is to take all of that money for the 2 cents and set it aside completely separately in a bank account to be used exclusively for a new fire department building at some point in time in the future. And that was explicit in their minutes that that's what they wanted to use that money for. Yeah, so I think that was it I had for comments. Not sure if the CAO might have some comments as well on this issue or not.
Okay, we'll go to Counselor Merriam.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion. I move that the draft 26-27 Municipality of East Hants budget be amended to add the 2-cent levy increase for the Milford Fire Department.
Okay. Motion's been made. Seeing no one to speak, we'll go to the vote. And we need one more person to, motion has passed unanimously. Okay. Counselor Tingley.
Through the chair, I'm gonna make the same motion for Lance. They're in good financial shape and they're planning for their new fire hall. So I'm gonna motion that 2 cents be added to their levy for the coming budget year.
Second.
On before the motion, Counselor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilors of the area know their business, and I'm not gonna argue about that, but I'm just wondering, with the change that's gonna happen in the fire service that are a big unknown, and how this is all gonna feather down and what we're hearing, are the rates a little premature? I guess that's what I would ask the question.
CAO?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I'm probably the best person in the room to try and answer that question. From the meetings that I've been to with the Fire Service Review, and there is one next week that I would encourage councilors to go to. So there is legislation already on the floor of the House passed that says that they will have an implementation plan for their 40 recommendations by this September. So that's the date in the legislation. And there is no question in my mind from the conversations that I've been a part of, and there's been many, that municipalities will be responsible for fire service delivery based on a level of service established by council. You will have to hire or appoint a fire chief to manage your fire service. And you will have to determine a level of service, and you will have to finance that level of service accordingly. That is a no, that's clear from the 40 recommendations that are coming down. There's lots more around training and whatnot. And there's still some things to be worked out. So the consultation that they're doing now is around not what they're going to do, but how they're going to do it and how that looks. And there's various models across the province. Some people will be more impacted than others. For example, towns who typically have a small fire department that services the town because of the small geographical area aren't seeing a whole lot of holes in this plan because they've got that now. There's quite a bit of connection between the town and the fire departments that serve them. Quite often, the towns have a paid fire service of some sort that's either supplemented by volunteers or not. I think the major impact on these recommendations being implemented is going to be on areas like ours, who have 13 volunteer fire departments, our fire service is amazing. They all work together really well. They have their mutual aid. They have a chiefs group. I can't say enough about how well our fire service works together. I'm not sure what's going to happen when these regulations and this legislation comes in, because right now you are the funders of the fire service, but you really are hands off on the administration of the fire service. And that is not going to be an option anymore based on the provincial legislation. You will be the administrators of the fire service.
So then
That's a
my-
given.
that was my question. You know, are these rate increases maybe somewhat premature until we know what's going down the road, right?
Yeah, so.
And how we're gonna administer it or whatever.
So I think I would say it is evident that the corridor fire stations have expansion plans. And I'm not suggesting that you should, I don't know at what point you should weigh in on them, I guess is the question. And if you're gonna be responsible for them in a year's time, then do you want to weigh in on them before that? You're going to need money to do something in the corridor with fire, there's no question, because there's, it's growing and the fire departments have identified a need for a new department in Lance, a new department in Enfield. There is more needs in the corridor for firefighting, so I don't think by raising your levy rates that it's necessarily a bad thing. But my concern would be that it gets spent before we understand what the needs are for the whole corridor as a fire service rather than each individual department. And I say that with absolute respect for the work that's being done with the fire departments now. Just sitting in the rooms that I've been sitting in the last 2 weeks, listening to the implementation plan and what it means to be a municipality taking over the administration of a fire service, council is going to have the decisions on all kinds of things that we don't now, that you rely on your fire departments to do now. And again, we don't know what level the province is going to regulate this, but they mean business. Like these aren't going to be you may do this or you may do that. You will hold the responsibility for the fire service. So I can't say the rates are premature, but I would say you'd be better off to request that your departments not do anything drastic until council has a chance to figure out what's going on with this fire service review. The province will have legislation by September. They have a three to 4 year implementation plan that's coming. And it's going to involve everything from training standards, training delivery, liability, occupational health and safety.
I understand.
All
I've
of
read-
that.
I've read the FCN's
Right?
report and what they're.
Yeah, so I think, I'm not gonna weigh in on whether the rates are premature or not, because I think there are needs in the corridor that will need to be, financed.
But there also need in the one department that I belong to, where they're desperate need of a fire station. But they, they're taking the attitude is, let's just wait and see what's coming down the pipe with this new legislation, because they're front and center for a new station. So, that's why I asked the question, because things are gonna change drastically and we don't know, really have too much of a concept on how deep that's gonna go.
Yeah, and through you, Madam Chair, I guess I would say too, the province isn't going to regulate how you fund your fire service. So where you have a model right now of area rates for each department and each area, there's nothing to say that you have to change that. So if you're looking at raising dollars in the corridor, there's nothing to say that those dollars will get spent somewhere else. They'd be corridor fire dollars unless council decides otherwise. But typically in your area rate structure, that's not how you would go. The conversations around fire rates and whatnot, they're so different across the province that I don't think the province could actually standardize how the rates get set or what model you have to use. But it will be that you have to provide a fire service. And you will be deciding what the level of service is through community risk assessments that need to be done. So, I guess the money that's raised through these rate levies will be up to you to decide if you put any caveats on it, on how you want it to be spent, or whether you want it to be held until September, until you know what the review's going to say, what's gonna come down. I guess that's what I would
Thank you for that.
caution. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Next to speak is Counselor Tingley.
Through the chair, just in response to that conversation, Lance has been very responsible in their planning, and they've said to us with this 2 cents, they don't intend to squander it on something else. They're putting it aside for a building, and they feel that they need to go ahead with planning because nothing has come down so far, and they have no idea what it will be. They could still be in the same position where they need to plan for a new fire hall. So the money is not going to be squandered. It's, they've already got a pretty good financial plan, and they've managed their money fairly well so far. And the money's not going to go anywhere. It's going to set in an account until some further planning is done. So I don't see anything to be lost to increase this levy of 2 cents. That's it.
Thank you, Counselor. Next to speak is Warden Rolston.
Thank you. Following up on the CAO's comments, if it was business as usual, as Councillor Reinhold said, if the area councillors said we need this increase, then that's good enough for me. And I'll probably go along with it this year too, but I just, really want to caution folks that this is major change coming down the pipes. At the end of the day, right now, it's the individual fire departments deciding if they need a new fire hall or not. It's probably not going to be that way. It's going to be the municipality having to make the decision as to whether or not the fire departments need a new fire hall. There will be studies that will have to be done for risk assessment and that, and what will come out of that. Whether the province directs these studies or what the terms of reference for them are, we don't know any of that yet. And there's a very real possibility that at the end of the day, the recommendations coming from the studies, whoever does them, whatever they are, and I don't say this lightly, there's a possibility that the study, they'll say you shouldn't have 13 departments. You should have fewer departments. Some are too close together. Maybe you'll need a department here and new substations here or there. We don't know. So, I'm prepared to provide the extra 2 cents to departments to operate because they have to operate in the interim. However, I would struggle, and I don't know how you deal with it, but I would struggle with any department, even my own, if not that they're planning. But I would struggle with any department going out and starting to build a new building right now until we know what's coming down the pipes. If they want to get the money and they're holding it aside for equipment, for possible building, whatever, that's great. But at this point in time, I know there's a tendency to think, well, the province is doing another study and it's going to go on the shelf and nothing's really going to change. That's not the sense that I have right now. And I don't have the sense that, and I'll say it, at this point in time, that the province even has a good grasp on exactly what it's going to look like. I don't have that sense, and I do not have the sense that not all, but some people involved in this do not understand that one size doesn't fit all. So I think we're in for some very interesting times around the fire service. So I just wanted to make that comment, and I don't know, I hate to say that because our fire departments are used to operating independently and making the decisions about what they need, be it training, be it equipment, be it buildings. And it's not going to be that way going forward once this all settles out. Because I don't see the province walking away from this. And I'm also very much afraid that the province has done the fire review, has started it, and is mandating these things. But when it comes to implementing things and getting things done, guess who's going to be the bad guy? It's not going to be the province, because the rules are going to say municipalities, you're responsible now, you do this. And how you do it, we don't care, but you do this. And anyway, I have a lot of concerns, and so just to add my voice to the CAOs, you know, it's not, fire departments will always be able to use more money to provide the service that they provide. And, but if it comes, you know, to bricks and mortar right now, I could not see my way clear to supporting starting bricks and mortar until after we know a lot more than we know now about what the landscape looks like when all this is finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Next to speak is Councillor Perry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's not towards this motion, it's about the fire service. I'll do it after the motion is done.
Okay. Councillor McPhee to the motion.
I'm not just sure, but it's kind of a continuation of what the warden was just saying.
Okay.
And I think we do have an idea how this will go down. I remember when the amalgamation in HRM, Halifax County happened, HRM then had to rationalize their fire departments. I knew people in the Myers Grant Fire Department, in the Dutch Settlement Fire Department. There was a lot of turmoil. Those departments disappeared. Well-run volunteer fire departments. I expect you'll see something similar happen right across the province once this is put in. I think we do have the pattern. It's going to work out the same just 30 years later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, seeing no one left to speak, we've got a motion on the floor. We'll go to the vote.
2 cents for lands.
And the motion is passed unanimously. Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Madam Warden. With everything we know that's going to be coming down over the next few months and into September, have we put any money aside in this budget for possible studies that might need to be implemented in September, just to have it earmarked? So we're not coming back and trying to go, or is the plan to fund them via our reserves at that time, rather than putting something in the budget at this time?
CAO?
Through you, Madam Chair, we didn't put money in the budget to do the fire service, the risk assessment, community risk assessments. Those will be mandated through legislation, but that legislation won't even hit the floor until September, so there'll be some time to get those done. I think in December, November, we brought a report forward that we could pay for a fire service review, and we had enough money in reserves to do that. So if council decided, once the dust settles, to do a fire service review, and that would include these community risk assessments, then there is money in the reserves, professional services reserves, to do that.
Okay, because that's what I was trying to get at, is the fact that these studies aren't going to be optional, they're going to be mandatory.
Right.
So I want to make sure that we have the funds either in reserves, or we budget for them somewhere. I don't know, maybe after we figure out what surplus is, and we look at taking some surplus and put it towards that when we do the end of year for this year. But we definitely should be looking to put some money in there. I do know we put in those reserves anyway every year as part of our annual thing. But I just know that this is gonna cost a lot more. It's gonna be probably more than one study we're gonna have to do. And everybody's gonna be trying to get the same people. So the first people that have the money to get it done are probably gonna get the experts first.
So through you, Madam Chair, we're hoping that there will be provincial funding that comes with all of these mandates. Even if there wasn't, this isn't something that we would put in a budget and not come back to council and just start anyway. So when we come back to you and say, this is what the legislation says, this is what we recommend and how you go about doing it, then the budget would come with that. There is money in reserves to do it.
Okay.
So
I'm
I
fine.
wouldn't go ahead and do fire service reviews without, with a full report to council anyway.
Oh, I expected a report to come. I just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that the reserve was healthy enough or,
Your contingency reserve could pay for these, no issues as well, so.
okay, thank you. I just want to make sure so it doesn't have an effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Warden, would you mind taking the chair again? Thank you. So definitely cognizant of all the cautions that are, that people are feeling about what's coming down the line. And when it comes to Enfield's request for a 2-cent increase, the request that they submitted was more along the lines of the increased costs, the keeping the cognizance of vehicles every 5 years, the volatile nature of the material cost, tariff landscape, and ever increasing manufacturer backlog. Everything's becoming more expensive, including training and equipment and whatnot. So I guess facing the increase in costs of everything that everything else is seeing in other areas. So in saying that, I will be making a motion for the new budget to reflect Enfield's request for a 2-cent increase in their rate.
Okay, do we have a seconder for the motion? Seconded by Councillor McPhee. Is there only any discussion on this motion? No, it's not a conflict of interest.
Setting
for
tax rates is not a conflict.
Setting tax rates for your own department is not a conflict?
No. Setting a tax rate for your own house is not a conflict.
Councillor Perry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see where you're going and I see what their request is. And if it's based on the vehicle every 5 years with their annual surplus, they already have more than enough to cover a vehicle cost. And this is another 140,000 a year. It's 2.3 million over 5 years from the
I-
annual surplus. And I understand, putting money away because there's other stuff that come up too with things like this. I just, when I look at the taxpayer and I look at what the increases are at 25 and 39 and 22%, in the climate that we're in, it's very concerning that you see, the better off to do departments, still coming, for large sums of money, when the smaller departments are trying to do the same with the stuff. And I come from a very healthy department. My department is just as healthy. And, it is a concern that I've heard from residents about the costs continually to go up. And understanding where the money is and where it's being held. I'm glad to see that this financial report is here, so everybody knows. But I'm gonna support the request because it comes from the area councillor and everything. But it is something that I think when we go forward in the fall and moving forward, we really have to look at, how the surpluses and everything are going. We have no oversight, but we still give them the taxpayers' money. And the balance and checks, make sure they're there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dixon.
Thank you, through the chair. Just to add to Councillor Perry's comments, I think in this review, there's gonna be some things answered, like the fire departments are supplying medical services, education services that are not being reimbursed. So these are things that are hopefully come out and be resolved at that time. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion?
If I can just add, Enfield is obviously one of the departments who is hoping to have a new building as well, although that was not reflected in their letter of request. Thank you.
No one else left to speak? Are you ready for the vote? We'll go to the question, go to the vote, sorry. The motion is passed unanimously. So I'll turn the chair back to you,
Thank you, Warden.
and I would like to,
Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question, when you borrow for a building for a fire department, what's the time period you could borrow, like the maximum, like how many years?
We traditionally ourselves don't get involved in financing that, but it would normally be 20 to 25 would be my understanding, if not longer.
Yeah, because I was talking to our fire chief and they were expecting to borrow for 50 years. Is that possible?
I'm not sure about
Like that's,
50, but.
like he said, they can go 45, 50, I don't know. So that's why I'm asking, because it's, for a new fire department, you gotta, if you want to plan, you gotta plan how much your payment's gonna be
Yeah.
and go.
I've never heard of that number myself, 45 to 50.
I was surprised. That's why I'm asking the question. So, is that something you can ask for us? Like just
CAO?
Through you, municipalities have different borrowing under our debenture program than the fire department would through their bank. So really, that's an individual bank
Oh.
decision.
so we don't do the borrowing for them for a building.
No,
Like
so
they
for
go-
us, I think we can only do up to 25 years on anything.
Okay.
But that's because it's a debenture through the provincial program.
Mhm.
How they negotiate their mortgage with their bank would be up to them. And I think it would be up to the bank to take the risk on whether they wanted to have a mortgage outstanding on a 40 or 50-year-old building or not.
Yeah, it's something.
I mean, they're gonna pay a lot more interest if they spread it out over 45, 50
Yeah,
years.
But the payment will be substantial if you can't go that far. So
Yeah,
I just asked to be able to make some calculation.
there's a difference too between your amortization period and your loan period. So you can amortize something over a longer period than your loan and then save up the money and pay it off when you have to remortgage.
Yeah, okay.
We've done that in the past with our debentures.
Thank you.
Warden Rolston?
Thank you. I guess we've approved the asks of the fire departments as we would in normal circumstances. But I think everyone understands that these are not quite normal circumstances. So I'm gonna throw this out there and council may just say, no, we're not interested in even talking about that right now. But should we be sending some kind of a message to our fire departments that with the change that's on the horizon, and not fully understanding the scope of that change or what it's going to mean, that the municipality would probably be putting a moratorium on any new construction of fire halls until such time as this review is played out and we know how things are going to work. And I'm not saying that any department's gonna go out tomorrow and build a hall to get in under the wire or anything. I'm just saying we don't quite know how long this is going to take. But if it goes the way that it might go, and we don't know yet, and we end up owning everything, we're gonna owe everything too. And, that's a bit concerning. So I don't think it would be wise planning to start a new fire hall anywhere for the next, I don't know how long it's gonna be, 6 months, a year? How long it's going to be. And I just wonder, I'm not gonna make a motion, I'm gonna throw it out there and see what others think. But I just wonder if that's something that we should communicate to the fire departments, that the municipality would not be entertaining providing building permits for any new fire departments until such time as we know what's going to come of this. And it can be a yay or a nay. It's just something that entered my head. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Next to speak is Councillor Hebb.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's partly what I was gonna ask, what the warden was saying. Question to you to John, I guess. If these two departments decided to go ahead and build a building, it doesn't have to come back to council, does it? They would just have to enter a plan to the municipality.
Go ahead. Is he on?
Push your button, John, so she can find you.
Well, from the permitting side, yes, if the zoning permits it and the building, meets all the requirements, then we would issue a permit, but, nothing to do with the financing.
Before us or anything like that? No, once they.
No.
Okay, thank you. And following up with the ward, and I totally agree that is something we should do to make sure that they know what's going on and what we feel and on how things may take place. So, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Next to speak is Counselor Perry.
I just have two things. One thing, I like the summary information chart that was there for the financial information. Could we have that in our budgets going forward for all departments? Of the, showing the assets, liability, revenue, and expenses. So I think that's very important for the public to see every year, is the health of all the fire departments and what's going on. I think that's a very important chart. The next thing is going forward with the construction, does throw a wrench into my area, because they've been planning for 5 years, and they had planned to break ground this summer. We sold them a piece of property to do just that. They've had a committee, they're in the process of hiring a project manager to get that project going. So, there's large expenditures already been done and put out, and the idea for their substation is to replace the main station, because the main station can't carry new trucks because it's an undercut floor where the trucks are standing, so they can't get a double size pumper truck or water truck or whatever. So they were looking to, basically, the new substation they were planning was gonna become the main station moving forward. So if this is gonna go through, then there needs to be some serious conversations going on right now, because there's already been a large expenditure made by the department moving forward by getting people in and surveys and geographical studies and all this stuff to start construction and start moving this year. So I understand they're a lot further ahead than the other fire departments, but it's definitely one thing that needs to be taken into consideration, and municipality's been with them step by step throughout the whole process. So coming in and cutting their legs off just before the shovel hits the ground, I don't know how they're gonna take that.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Tingley.
Through the chair, I can see sending a letter like that. But as far as Lance is concerned, I'll make a couple of comments. Councillor Marion and I met with Lance a week or two ago, and they told us, as far as the oversight is concerned, they always, and they've told me every year since I've been a councillor, they thought there should have been more oversight based on the amount that the municipality was paying in levies. They were open to a needs and assessment ever since I've been on council, including a risk assessment. And they don't operate in a silo. They try to talk with the other fire halls and try to determine what their needs are and see if they can share needs and that sort of thing. And just for, I'm registered to go on that call with the province. I don't know, we'll get the chance to say anything, but I hope they don't just completely gut what is in place now. The volunteers are very happy and proud of what they do. And there's probably some things that need to be improved as far as governance and that sort of thing. But I just hope they don't gut the whole thing, and that we can eventually do our own needs assessment and determine how we should operate. But I just wanted to say that as far as the oversight and what I think Lance is going to do. They got no intentions of putting shovels in the ground between now and September or this summer. And they're open to collaboration and planning with the municipality or the province or whoever. They just want to get on with it. That's it.
Thank you. Counselor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I 100% agree with Council Perry about the Uniac Fire Department. Like, it's not a luxury to go from an older fire department to a new one. It's a much needed, that new substation is needed like 2 years ago and 3 years ago. And John know how much construction at one end of the municipality is going. Like, we have over 300 new homes in one section, and the fire department need at least 40 minutes to get there. So that's not very healthy. That's their mandate. They want a quick response time, and most of the firemen, they have to travel 20 minutes to the fire department to go on their truck, then go back to the emergency. So that will move it even further. So. And there's a lot of planning done. We have a very healthy fire department, and they're planning really good. And I don't like to stop them right now in the middle of this process. Any study is going to come. It's going to tell you have a whole district that doesn't have any fire service in it. So tell me which district in East Hants doesn't have any fire service in it yet. I don't agree with that stop. So I think we should let them go with what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, we discussed the FSANS report at our fire meeting last night, and we also struck a building committee. And we're gonna meet this Sunday evening coming, and we're gonna discuss what we need for a new fire station to try to get ahead of what's coming down the pipe. We don't plan to be turning any shovels or putting any permits, but we just wanted to get ahead and get a proper plan and architectural drawing so we get ahead of this, right? So that's what we're doing.
Counselor Hebb.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having heard what the two councilors from Mount Uniac said, I think that, they spend a significant amount of money here, and they're basically ready to put shovels in the ground, and I think they should be exempt and be able to continue on with their plans as needed. So I think that's be different if they weren't as far along as they are, but they are. So I'm okay with them moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Warden Rolston.
Thank you. And I was not in any way suggesting that there weren't needs for new fire halls. And going forward, the way that things operate now, and I agree with Councillor Hebb. Mount Uniac's position is a little different. They have been building on this and working on this for quite some time. I just wanted to throw it out there and see what the appetite was, or if we should be, if we should be corresponding with fire departments saying, just a cautionary thing that, maybe, now, probably no departments are gonna be breaking ground between now and September, I don't know. But we are in a precarious situation, as is our fire service, because we don't know what's going to happen, and our fire service doesn't know what's going to happen. And it's not a position that the municipality, or any municipalities that I know of, really wants to be in right now. It's not a position that our fire service wants to be in. However, it is what it is. So, I guess those were I just wanted to ask the question. I'm not making any motions or anything, but I just wonder and I don't even know if we would have the authority to issue a moratorium on the construction of new fire halls or not. I don't know. CAO says we could, I guess. But and maybe it's something we would revisit as we follow this fire service review process through and try and glean a little more information, but most of us were at the recent meeting with the two ministers in which that fire service review was raised, and I don't think any of us got a lot of information because I don't think they had a lot to share. And I'm not sure how much they're gonna have to share by September, but there will be more, I hope, by then. So that's all, and I didn't intend to, if I gave the impression that I thought a new fire hall was a luxury item for some department, that wasn't my intent at all. Our volunteer fire service in East Hants, I agree with the CAO, is second to none. And I have a great deal of respect for all those volunteers and a great deal of gratitude, having had them come to a fire on my property before. And they work very well together. And I echo the comments that were made around, I really hope that in attempting to make things better, the province doesn't destroy what we have. And I've said that to any of them that will listen many times, that our volunteer fire service certainly can use some help from the province. And there are things that the province could and should do to help them, such as paying for medical calls and things like that. And there may be other things. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, I guess is my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Counselor Mitchell and then Counselor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is the municipality in the habit of giving away land for fire halls?
Go ahead, Adam.
Through you, Madam Chair, generally speaking, no. However, council does have some motions on the books around Mount Uniacke and some land down there around surplusing it for their needs. That will need to go through that process. But conversations, just for council's information, to remind you on your MOU with Lance Fire, there is no commitment at this point for council to commit that land at a no value. The conversations informally we've had with Lance is in that MOU, we've talked about the municipality reviewing their site as a potential municipal needs and looking at what an exchange may be. Maybe that site doesn't work for us, maybe there's a cash contribution, or maybe there isn't. That really would be a council decision at that time, whether it's there's a cost to the land or not. But I've kind of given you a few examples, but generally speaking, the answer is no.
Okay, just curious. I hear some rumblings in the communities, so I just want to make sure that nothing is given away that would benefit the whole municipality.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Seeing no one left to speak, we have reached and surpassed our scheduled time of adjournment. So our next council meeting, CAO, would you like to?
Through you, Madam Chair, there is another another fire report around exempt municipal properties and fire rates and whatnot posted to the agenda. Just looking for feedback from council. Do you want this put on your next agenda for presentation, or do you want it to be for information?
I think we just carry on from where we leave off
Okay,
tonight.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one left to speak, our next council meeting is next Thursday. Next budget meeting is next Thursday night, February 19th, and the